Good morning, y'all, and welcome to Church Central's YouTube channel. This is week 4 of our Generous series. We're getting ready to wrap things up. As we do that, I want to let you know the project for the Dunhams is ongoing. If you missed our Facebook post, what we're doing is sending out groups. So be looking for the Facebook post. We're going to update you guys as we complete each task, and we'll let you know what needs to be done next. If you feel equipped, that you can serve or volunteer in that area, just let us know on there and we'll get the team formed and we'll go out in the appropriate numbers. That way we can keep the appropriate distance. Also, our celebration service to end the Generous series is going to be June 7th. It's going to be that evening, and we'll let you know the final time here shortly. We're going to nail everything down, and you guys will have all the details well in advance. And again, all of those updates are going to be on our Facebook page, so be looking out for those as they come to you soon. Thanks again for being with us this morning, and if you could at some point throughout the service, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks so much for tuning in this week. Before we get started, let's open with a word of prayer. Father, I thank you for being so good to us again. I thank you that, Father, that you are constant. You are always there. Father, I thank you for allowing us to wake up today. Father, I thank you for the breath that you give us and these lives that you continue to bless. Father, thank you for being so good to us. Father, I pray over these songs, over these words we're getting ready to sing. I pray that it would bless your ears. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but only trust in Jesus' name. Let's sing that again, church. My hope. Savior's love, and through the storm, He is Lord, He's Lord. When darkness shall come with trumpet sound. Oh, may I then in him be found, dressed in his righteousness alone, and faultless stand before the throne. And in Christ alone, cornerstone, weak made strong in the Savior's love, and through the storm, He is Lord, He's Lord. Sing it again, church, in Christ alone, cornerstone, believe in Christ the Son. I believe in the Holy Spirit. Our God is three in one. I believe in the resurrection, that we will rise again. For I believe in the name of Jesus. Sing this out with the church. I believe in life eternal. I believe in life eternal. I believe in the virgin birth. I believe in the saints' communion and in your holy church. I believe in the resurrection when Jesus comes again. For I believe in the name of Jesus. Yes, I believe in the name of Jesus. Christ alone, cornerstone, weak made strong in the Savior's love. Through the storm, He is Lord. He's the Lord of all. And in Christ alone, He's my cornerstone, where the weak are made strong in the Savior's love. Through the storm, oh, He is Lord. He's the Lord of all. Lord, I come and I confess, bowing here, I find my rest. And without you, I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, you're my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Where sin runs deep, your grace is more. Where grace is found is where you are. Oh, and where you are, Lord, I am free. And holiness is Christ in me. I said, where you are, Lord, I am temptation comes my way. And when I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. 'Cause Jesus, you're my hope and stay. And when I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Oh, 'cause Jesus, you're my hope and stay. And Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. 'Cause you're my one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. It's every hour I need you. 'Cause you're my one defense, you're my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. You're my one defense, you're my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you.
Good morning. You ever notice that there's a difference between being busy and being busy with purpose? Let me give you an example. If I go shopping with my wife, and I love to go shopping with my wife. I know it sounds crazy and to look at me. I love to go shopping with her because it makes her happy, and I like to make her happy. I'll be her helper, and she knows as long as she gives me a chore to do, then I'm fine shopping with her. She'll give me a size, or she'll send me on a wild goose chase, just whatever. She'll send me to go look for something, and as long as I feel like I'm being helpful, then it becomes an enjoyable experience. And so shopping is not a horrible thing as long as I'm with her. But it's one thing to go shopping just to be shopping, and it's another thing to be busy shopping for just some clothes for an event or something like that. And it's completely different to be shopping for Christmas. Because typically when you go shopping for Christmas, you have a list, you have all of these things that you're going, and you have a purpose. You want to find the perfect gift for each person that you're shopping for. And so it's completely different. It's one thing to be busy, and it's another thing to be busy with purpose. And so as we go through this generous series, and as we talk about what it looks like to be generous, we've talked about loving the way God loves, which is he showed us so much grace, and we're called to show grace to others. And if we look at how God has loved us and we compare that to the way we love people, we're short. We've got a long ways to go. And so it's not just, I need to love God and I need to love people. No, we need to love the way God has loved us. And so that's a difficult task. It's almost it really is an impossible task, but we're called to do that. And so we talked about that the first week. We talked about what it looks like to love our neighbor. The second week, love ourselves, love God, and put all of those things in perspective. And if we get good at doing that as a church, and if we're united in doing that, if we have a generous spirit about us and we're sincere about that, and we really do love one another, the world is going to be attracted to the church in a way that we have never seen before in our lifetime. And so we're really called to do that. And it seems like an impossible task, but to love one another the way God has loved us, and to love our neighbor as ourselves, and to really love God with all our heart and our mind and our soul is a huge mandate. It is what we're called to do more than anything else. It is, Jesus said it this way, it is the greatest the commandment. It is these things, if we get those right, we'll get the others right. And so it's a huge task for us to do. And so we need to get busy doing those things and living those things out with purpose. Last week we talked about Nehemiah, and we dug into the book of Nehemiah a little bit. And there was some conflict in the book of Nehemiah. If you know the story of Nehemiah, God used Nehemiah to rebuild the walls around Jerusalem, and to just make it quick, he and the people there did it in 52 days, which was a miraculous task. It was a huge task, and it was amazing what God did through those who had a mind to work. But there was conflict along the way, and they had to get unified. And we talked about that last week, what it looked like to be unified as a church. And in a lot of ways, it breaks my heart, because as unified as we are as a church, there are things that we're not unified in at all during this time of quarantine, during this time of sheltering in place. For some people are still doing that, and so social distancing. We all have different feelings about what is safe and what's not, and most of us are just not unified in all of that, and it makes church a difficult task, because it's such a social thing. And but I praise God for our church. We didn't hit the pause button on the church. We have hit the play button, and we're right in the middle of Generous. We're right in the middle of trying to make a difference in each other's lives and in the family of Tom and Donna Dunham. And so I'm very excited about what God has done this past week and what he's going to do next week. And we're also going to gather together and celebrate, and we're going to have corporate worship together in person for the first time in several months. On the 7th, we're going to have a picnic. And in that picnic, during that picnic, we're going to have worship, and we're going to have preaching, and we're going to have time together. And we'll have plenty of room for everybody to have, you could bring a blanket and set it on the ground. You can bring your lawn chairs, whatever. But there's plenty of room for us to spread out on my parents' property, where we plan to do this. And so you'll hear us talk a lot about that over the next week or so, just trying to encourage you guys to be there. And I hope everybody will show up. It'll just be a good time for all of us to see one another from a distance. You know, you can wear your mask, you can do whatever you feel comfortable doing, but it would be good to see everybody together that evening. But I'm very excited about it. We're looking at Nehemiah again today, and we're looking at really what it looks like to not allow distractions in our life. The story of Nehemiah is one that is dear to my heart, because I am so easily distracted. I don't know if I've never been officially diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. I've had a lot of people tell me they think I do have that, and I do struggle with distractions and staying focused, and it's a real task for me to stay on task a lot of times. And so I may have that, I don't know, but it's always been a struggle. And so this story, when I see something accomplished, or when I see someone who is really good at what they do, it's encouraging to me. And so this story really starts way before the book started, okay? Because Nehemiah had never been to Jerusalem. He grew up pretty much wealthy, and he ended up being the Persian king's cupbearer. And so a lot had happened, and and all the people had kind of left the epicenter of Israel, which was Jerusalem. And for the most part, people were allowed to go back, but a lot of families didn't. And so it was in a real distress, and it had not really been rebuilt, and had been in a mess for a long, long time. And some of it's funny to me because it's different than most of us understand. If you know anyone, I've got some friends who are from Israel, and they are more patriotic than you could ever imagine. And their land was given to them by God, and they see it that way, and they've always expressed it that way. And so there's something deeper emotionally connected to all of that. And so even you can kind of feel that with Nehemiah. He had never been there. He had never really seen what it was like before, but he gets the news that the city is in a distressed state, and there are some real difficult times, and the walls need to be rebuilt. He gets all of this news, and it's like new news to him. He weeps and he cries and he falls apart, and he tries not to do it in front of the king, but he does, and the king asks him what's wrong, and of course he tells him what's going on. And at this point the king said, well, here's what we're going to do. I love you family. I'm going to give you money. I'm going to give you resources. I'm going to give you a team of people to go with you, and you go and you make sure that the walls are rebuilt around Jerusalem. The only thing I want you to promise me is that you'll come back, that one day you'll come back. And so you get it reestablished, you get it going, and then you come back. And so that was Nehemiah's plan. He showed up, he looked at the walls, saw how horrible it was, saw what needed to be done. And the walls were a huge task because they didn't just represent protection around the city. They represented hope. They represented the capital being put back together, and now it's reestablishing even religious and governmental institutions that could change the life of everyone, not just those that lived in Jerusalem, but those who called themselves Jewish. And so there was a lot that had to take place, and there was a lot that was going on with this, and there was a lot of value in the rebuilding of the walls. And Nehemiah knew that, so he showed up and he saw how horrible it was, and then he put together a plan very quickly and started rebuilding the walls. And if you read the story, you know that it didn't take very long at all before he had opposition. He had people around the city, leaders around the city, and other governments and other leaders who had decided, no, we can't allow this to happen. They're going to kill our economy. They're going to hurt us. They're going to hurt. We cannot let them become a powerhouse. We need to keep them enslaved to us and keep them begging us for what they want and what they need. And it's going to hurt our economy. It's going to hurt us. So we've got to stop this from happening. And so they did everything they could to distract Nehemiah over and over and over again. And even among the people, there was distractions. And we talked about that last week. And he dealt with those distractions. But today I want to talk about an example of him dealing with his opposition. A guy named Sanballat that kept trying to distract him from rebuilding the walls. And he came to him over and over and over again with different ideas. And he would say, yeah, let's meet together, come down. The whole time he was plotting to kill Nehemiah and stop the work. There was a lot that was going on. But Nehemiah responded the same way every single time. And that's the verses that we're going to focus on. And they're not new to a lot of you if you've been to our church, because they're some of my favorite verses. In Nehemiah chapter 6, verses 3-4, listen to what it says. And it says, and I sent messengers to them saying, and this is Nehemiah's response to Sanballat and those other leaders. He said, I sent messengers to them saying, I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and come down to you? And they sent to me 4 times in this same way, and I answered them in the same manner. Now, here's the reality of this story, this biblical story, this true story. Here's the reality of it. Nehemiah understood that the work he was doing was a great work. He had already identified this as something significant, something worth sacrificing his position for, something worth sacrificing his finances for, something worth sacrificing his life for, because he could have lost his life. And he said, I'm going to sacrifice everything I can to get there and to help my people rebuild their city, rebuild our city, rebuild Jerusalem, and therefore rebuilding the capital of Israel and changing and giving people hope that they've never had, that they haven't had in my lifetime. And so he had a huge task ahead of him. And he understood that everything that he did was a part of that bigger idea. Every small task was a part of that big task, that big idea. And to leave and only do pieces of that would say, man, he identified every little part of those rebuilding the wall as a great work. And I think that's where I fail. I think that's where we fail. I think that's where we don't always see the significance of the little things until we find ourselves looking and we're heading in a direction that we never intended to go. Or we find ourselves in a place that we never intended to be. Because we didn't think the little things were as important as they actually were. That's the difference with Nehemiah. Nehemiah saw every task as valuable, and he was able to say, no, as long as I'm working on the walls, as long as I'm doing something to rebuild these walls, this is a great work, and I will not come down. Every part of the task was a great work. Every part of the task was a great work because it gave hope to the people. It gave unity to the people. It brought unity to a people who were divided. It brought hope to a people that didn't know how they were ever going to really be Israel again, how they were ever really going to be a force to be reckoned with, how they were ever really going to be a nation that could recognize all the amazing things that God had done for them, like they had done in their grandparents' lives. But these people had never lived through that. It had been 90 years or so since the last time they've seen all of this work the way they knew it had worked at one time. But they'd all heard the stories and they all had desire to see it happen. And they translated that desire and that hope to, if I can do this task, it'll help accomplish this goal. Therefore, every task was a great work. I love his response. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. My challenge to you is, when is the last time you had a goal in mind? When is the last time you had a goal set that required a lot of tasks? A lot of things to happen for that goal to be successful. A lot of things to happen for those things to really lay out and work out the way you knew God wanted them to work out. When's the last time you set a goal that required a lot of individual tasks, and a lot of things for you to do? And how quick did you get distracted from it? We've built several houses, and when I say we've built, pretty much did everything ourselves. And when we would build a house, we knew that all of these tasks lined up and every one of them was important, and one needed to be done before you could do the next. And but for every house that I've built, or that I can't say I've built because my sons have helped me, my wife has helped me, my daughters helped me. The houses that we've built, I've had friends to help me. When we moved into those houses, there were always tasks that didn't get completed. There was a piece of trim that didn't get nailed down. There was a There was a door that was never hung, or there was a door handle that was never put on, and so we would have to have a reason, because at that point I was finished. And so, we would have an event, or we would have something at the house, and now that's a reason for me to get this done. It was easy to get distracted, because I didn't always see, and I don't always see, that every task matters. But when we're trying to do a great work for God, every task matters. When we're trying to love people the way God loved us, every task matters. Every attitude matters. Everything we do matters. When we're trying to love our neighbor as ourselves, every response matters. Everything that we do and how we treat other people matters. Everything that we do and how we worship God matters. All of these things matter because we're doing a great work. When we're trying to do a generous project, every single task matters. Our biggest challenge this year with this generous project is we feed off of each other. At the end of the project, we often, we'll have a crowd of people kind of piled up on top of each other. And we're out there elbow to elbow and digging into it and all doing different projects. And we can see each other across the yard, and we can wave at one another. We can take each other water, and we can just love on each other. We can just be together as we work together. And that is so encouraging. This year is so different. This year, we've got to understand that the task that I do, the time that I help, matters. And we have to be willing to say, you know what, I'm going to carve out some time for this generous project. And I'm not going to be distracted, because it is a great work. And it's a greater work, just like the walls for Nehemiah were much more than the walls for the city of Jerusalem. They represented hope. They represented unity. They represented reestablishing an epicenter that could translate into a new economy, which could translate into a new way of life, which could translate, it could change the narrative for these poor people that were trying to survive outside of their own city. This project for us is much more than the project. It means much more than the work that's got to be done. Each task means much more than just getting the job done. More than ever before, our church needs to come together. Even if it's in tiny, small groups working together in cells to work and do little tasks that in the end, the project will be complete. Here's my challenge. I've had so many people want to get involved and want to help. One task leads to another. And I feel like I've asked everybody to be on call right now. And that's kind of the way it is just be ready. Just be ready because we're going to need people to do this and this and this and that. And the only way it's all going to get done is if we all do our part. But at the end, it's much more than the project, because the church came together. And when the church comes together, the world sees that. And I want to tell you, not only do we need hope within our congregation that we can work together, we can see great things happen when we all do our little part. Not only do we all need to look at it and go, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. When I'm working on Generous, when I'm helping with Generous, it is an important project. I'm going to carve out time and I'm going to make it a priority in my life, and I'm going to make it a priority in my family's life. And we're going to be a part of the celebration. We're going to be a part of what God does. That every task is important. Not only is it important to get the job done, but it's important for us to come together as a church. We're not like other churches. We don't just gather together and sing and go home and never talk to each other and just come back. Most of us don't have church friends and friends. Most of us just have friends and they go to church with us. Or we bring our friends to church. It's a part of our lives. And it's a part of the work that we're doing. And the world needs to see, not just for us and not just for our church, there are other churches that need to see the hope that coming together and making this project work does. You have an opportunity. I have an opportunity to be a part of a great work. If we don't get distracted. If we don't get distracted. If you want to take notes and you want to write this down, here's what I would challenge you to write down. And not just write it down, but here's what I'd challenge you to begin to say when distractions come your way. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. Practice with the Generous Project, but let it be a theme in your life. Students, when you're sitting down working on homework, don't be distracted because you're doing a great work and you cannot come down. That task is valuable to the goal. When we can understand how important each task is to the goal, then we can understand how easily we're distracted. And when we can understand how easily we're distracted, we can begin to look at our distractions and say, I am doing a great work, and I will not come down. I cannot come down. The church is going to look different. The church is going to reach different people. The church is going to be hope. Church Central will be hope for other churches if we can have the same attitude as the Jews in Nehemiah when they were rebuilding the walls. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. Let me pray for you this morning. God, we love you. We thank you for your love and your grace. We thank you that, Lord, you have all things in your hands. And as we struggle through and honestly, we're distracted by the news. We're distracted by the health reports. We're distracted by the numbers that we don't really understand, that are skewed in so many different ways, God. But we're distracted by them when it comes to doing your work. I pray that you would help us. I pray that you would help us to establish what it is that we need to do, which task we need to do, and not be distracted from it. Lord, give us this same spirit of unity that says, I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Hey everybody, we're bringing you out here to John and Fran Simmons' house. We're going to have a service June 7th at 7 p.m. Remember that, 7 at 7. We're going to have a celebration service out here. We're just coming out here to the property. We got a few things that we need to check on. First thing, when you pull in the driveway, we want you to park on the left. All right, pull in driveway, park on the left. There's gonna be catering at the end of the driveway. I know we're trying to set up at the gazebo over here for the service. What? Lord, I prayed this morning for you to help me be nice. What is Will Parker doing? Oh my goodness. Why is Will? Is he in the tent? What is Corey New doing here? What are they doing? What? Will, are you in this tent?
What up, Dad?
What are we doing? You and Corey just here hanging out?
I'm jamming, bro. I'm getting ready for the worship service. What do you mean, what am I doing?
Well, it's June 7th. June 7th at 7 p.m. 7 and 7, remember?
What's wrong with that? I'm just here getting ready, man. There's gonna be a lot of people coming to this. Had to bring my cooler. I even brought Corey.
Yeah, rain or shine.
We're hanging out, dude. We're getting ready. We're gonna be over here, getting ready for the worship over there. It's gonna be a big deal. I mean, it's been a couple months since we've been together.
It's a week away, man.
Hey,
You got a week.
week or not, I'm here. I even got my tools from the last video. Everybody is now calling me Tool Man, so I had to bring those.
Are they calling you Tool Man?
Well, it's debatable, but I felt pretty good about it. But either way, they're here. I'm here. I got some matches in case it gets cold and we need to have us a little fire out here. But I mean, I'm ready. I'm prepared.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, Will's already here, so you better come get your spot. June 7th at 7 p.m. We're gonna be right over there. We have parking on the left when you pull in, catering down at the end of the driveway. The service is gonna be here. It's gonna be a great time, obviously, since Will's here a week early.
We ready, baby. See
See
y'all
y'all
here.
then.